In Edo, Japan, some samurai were so poor they sold their own swords to buy food. That's like a modern soldier pawning their gun to afford dinner. These weren't failed warriors, they were victims of a system that left them stranded between strict social codes and empty rice bowls. Hey, quick thing before we start, if you actually listen to these regularly, hit like or subscribe. I always wonder where everyone's at, so comment your city and what time it is. Weird to think some of you are having breakfast in London while I'm recording this at night here in the States. Alright, tonight it's the struggling samurai of Edo period Japan. But before we go anywhere, get comfortable. Seriously, take a second, adjust those pillows, make sure your blanket situation is handled. You're gonna be here a while. The year is 1765. You're waking up in Edo, Japan, what we now call Tokyo. Your eyes open to darkness. It's still 2 hours before dawn, but the thin paper walls of your tiny Nagaya row house do nothing to block the sounds of your neighbor's coughing fit. It's cold, the kind of cold that seeps into your bones and makes your joints ache. Not like the warm, cozy bed you're in right now. Your sleeping area is just a thin futon laid directly on the tatami mat floor. No mattress, no box spring, just you and some reed mats between your body and the hard-packed earth beneath the house. Your stomach growls. It's been growling for about 200 years. Okay, more like 12 hours since your last proper meal, but hunger has a way of stretching time. Quiet, you whisper to your noisy gut. You'll wake the children. Your hand fumbles in the darkness until it finds the small iron brazier near your futon. There's barely any heat left in it. The charcoal you could afford was the cheap stuff, mostly dust and small chips that burn out too quickly. But there's just enough warmth to feel the difference between your freezing fingers and the metal sides. In the corner of the room, your wife and 2 children are still sleeping, huddled together under a shared blanket. The 4 of you occupy a space smaller than a modern parking spot. During the day, you fold away the futons to create living space. At night, the entire floor becomes your bed. You sit up slowly, careful not to make a sound. The wooden floor creaks beneath the tatami as you shift your weight. You wince. Even the house is hungry, crying out from its empty belly. Another day, you mutter, your breath visible in the cold air. Another day of being hungry and important. That's the joke of your existence. You're a samurai, a member of the ruling warrior class. You outrank about 95% of the population. Peasants are legally required to bow to you. Merchants must show you respect even though they eat better food than you've had in years. You have the right to wear 2 swords. You're basically nobility. Nobility that can't afford breakfast. The water in the wash basin has a thin crust of ice that breaks under your fingers. You splash your face and the shock of it jolts you fully awake. Good, you'll need your wits about you today. Hey, you mumble to yourself, at least I'm not paying taxes like those farmers. That something right? It's a cold comfort. True, as a samurai, you're exempt from the heavy taxes that crush the peasant class. Instead, you receive a stipend from your lord, a fixed amount of rice meant to sustain you and your family. The problem is that stipend hasn't increased in 50 years, while the cost of everything else has. You reach for your clothes, carefully folded in the wooden chest. Your fingers trace the worn spot on your hakama pants. You've mended it 3 times already, but the fabric keeps fraying. Can't be helped. New clothes are out of the question this month, maybe next month, if the rice stipend stretches far enough. You should eat something before heading out. Your stomach reminds you with another embarrassing growl, but a quick check of the rice container confirms what you already knew: there's barely enough for the children's breakfast. Your wife will go without too, you know, though she'll never say it. My loyal soldiers, you whisper, patting your swords as you tie them to your belt. The short wakizashi and the longer katana together, they're worth enough to feed your family for half a year, but selling them would mean selling your identity. Without them, you're not a samurai. You're nothing. They're also the only inheritance you have to pass on to your son. The irony doesn't escape you. These symbols of your status are simultaneously the things keeping you from total poverty and the chains binding you to it. You can't sell them, can't use them, it's peacetime in Edo, and can't escape them. You slide open the thin door and step into the common area that serves as kitchen and dining room. Your wife is already there, kneeling by the small hearth. She must have slipped out of bed while you were getting dressed. You should have stayed asleep, you say, and let my husband go to the castle hungry. She smiles, but her face is tired. I found some rice at the bottom of the jar. You look at the pathetic portion of rice porridge bubbling in the pot. It's more water than rice, stretched thin with a few pickled vegetables floating in it. Your mouth waters anyway. The children need it more, you say, though your stomach protests loudly. I've set aside their portion, she says firmly. You have duties today. You need your strength. This is an old argument between you, played out hundreds of times. Today you don't have the energy to refuse. You kneel and accept the small bowl she offers. Thank you, you say? The rice porridge is bland and watery, but it's hot. You eat slowly, savouring each mouthful. Outside, the eastern sky is beginning to lighten. You'll need to leave soon to reach the castle at the proper time. You can hear the neighbours now, the thud of wooden doors sliding open, muffled conversations, the crying of a baby. Your row house is in a district filled with low-ranking samurai like yourself, all of you struggling with the same problems, how to maintain dignity, while poverty gnaws at your heels. I mended your socks, your wife says, sliding a pair of white tabi toward you. The thread doesn't quite match, but no one will notice inside your sandals. You look at the neat, tiny stitches. Your wife was the daughter of a merchant before she married you. Her family had opposed the match. Why would they want their daughter to marry down into poverty? But she had insisted. Now she uses the skills learned in her comfortable childhood to keep your family from falling apart. How do the children's lessons go, you ask, pulling on the socks? Well enough. Ichiro is quick with his letters. Ume still struggles, but she tries hard. Education is one of the few advantages you can give your children. As a samurai, you're literate, expected to be familiar with the classics, able to write poetry, knowledgeable about art and culture. Most farmers and even many merchants can't read more than a few characters. Your children will have that skill at least. Tell them I'll check their work tonight, you say, standing and adjusting your swords. Your wife kneels and bows formally as you prepare to leave. Take care, my lord. The formal address is half teasing, half serious. In public, the proper forms must be maintained. Here, in the privacy of your home, you're just a husband and father trying to provide. You slide open the front door and step into the cool morning air. The sky is lightening now, streaked with pink and gold. Other samurai are emerging from their homes, all dressed similarly in dark hakama pants and kimono tops, all wearing the two swords that mark your rank, all of them just as hungry as you. Katosan, a familiar voice calls out. Your neighbour, Tanaka, emerges from his doorway. His clothes are as worn as yours, but his topknot is immaculate. Walking to the castle? Good morning, Tanaka-san, you reply with a slight bow. Yes, duty calls. Indeed it does, though I often wonder if duty could call a bit later in the morning. He falls into step beside you as you make your way toward the main street, and with better pay, you add quietly. He laughs, a short, sharp sound. Better pay, what a dream. Do you know what Nakamura told me yesterday? The rice merchant on the corner raised his prices again. Meanwhile, our stipends remain frozen in time like Mount Fuji in winter. You grunt in agreement. It's an old complaint among your class. When the Tokugawa shogunate established peace 160 years ago, they effectively ended the samurai's traditional role as warriors. Now you serve as bureaucrats, administrators, and glorified clerks. The stipend, once generous compensation for risking your life in battle, has dwindled in value while prices climb ever higher. As you walk, the streets come alive with activity. Merchants throw open their shop fronts, craftsmen begin their day's work, servants and labourers hustle about on errands. Almost everyone bows as you pass, showing proper respect to your rank. It would be satisfying if you couldn't see the irony in their eyes. Some of these merchants make 10 times what you do in a year. The silk merchant on the corner lives in a house 3 times the size of yours and employs 2 servants, yet he must bow to you because you were born a samurai and he was not. "Look at that," Tanaka mutters, nodding toward a food stall where a merchant in expensive clothes is enjoying a breakfast of grilled fish and white rice. He's probably going to wash it down with sake. At breakfast, your stomach rumbles in response. You quicken your pace slightly. "Did I tell you what happened with Yoshida?" Tanaka asks, matching your stride. "His youngest fell ill last month. Doctor's fees ate up their entire rice stipend. He had to take a side job copying documents for a merchant at night. Your blood runs cold. He could lose his position if caught." Tanaka nods grimly. 4 generations of service to the daimyo, and it could end because he needed medicine for his child. It's illegal for samurai to engage in trade or manual labor. Your position and stipend are privileges granted by your lord. To work as a commoner would do is to bring shame on yourself and your master. Yet many samurai do exactly that in secret, simply to survive. You think of the unfinished paper umbrellas hidden beneath the floorboards of your home. 3 more nights of work and the merchant will pay you enough to buy rice for 2 weeks. No one can know. The street widens as you approach the castle district. Ahead, the massive stone walls rise up, impressive and intimidating. Hundreds of samurai stream toward the gates, reporting for their daily duties. From a distance, you all look the same proud warriors in service to your lord. No one could tell which of you ate breakfast and which did not. "Another day of glory," Tanaka says with a wry smile as you pass through the gates. "Indeed," you reply, straightening your back and adopting the dignified expression expected of your rank. "Another day of being hungry and important." The guards at the gate bow as you enter. Your stomach growls, but your face reveals nothing. You are samurai. Appearances must be maintained even when the reality behind them is falling apart. The morning sun finally breaks over the horizon, painting the castle towers in golden light. It's beautiful, a reminder of the culture and civilization your class has helped build and protect. There is honor in your service, even if there isn't much food. You pat the swords at your side once more, taking comfort in their weight. Hungry or not, you are samurai, and the day has just begun. The castle bustles with activity as you and Tanaka pass through the second gate. Servants scurry about carrying scrolls and tea. Higher-ranking samurai stride confidently through the courtyards, their silk clothing crisp and new. Their swords gleam in the morning light, polished by servants rather than by their own calloused hands. You bow deeply to an older samurai in expensive clothing, Lord Matsudaira's right-hand man. He barely acknowledges you with a slight nod before continuing on his way. "Someday," Tanaka whispers, "I'm going to be so important that I'll only have to bow that much." He demonstrates with a barely perceptible tilt of his head. You snort. "And I'll be so rich, I'll eat 2 meals every day." "Now you're just being ridiculous," he says, and you both laugh quietly. Laughter is free, at least, one of the few luxuries you can still afford. You part ways with Tanaka at the administrative building. He's assigned to the tax office, copying ledgers and calculating rice yields from the provinces. You're headed to the guards' quarters, where you'll spend the day supervising the castle's western gate. Not the main entrance where important visitors arrive. That post goes to samurai from wealthy families. You watch the servants' entrance, where deliveries come in and kitchen waste goes out. Katerson, the guard captain, greets you with a bow. You're assigned to the third watch today. That means midday to late afternoon. Not bad. The morning watch means standing in the cold, and the evening watch means getting home after dark when the streets aren't safe. Midday means sun, which means warmth without having to buy charcoal. Thank you, Captain, you reply with a bow of your own. The guard room is warm and smells of tea. A group of samurai sit around a low table, some playing Go, others just talking. All of them look up when you enter. Most nod in greeting. These are men like you, low-ranking samurai doing their duty, trying to maintain dignity while their purses grow lighter each year. Kato, come settle a debate, calls Ishida, a round-faced samurai with a perpetually cheerful expression despite his circumstances. Yamamoto says a true warrior would rather die than eat farm-raised fish. I say a true warrior would rather eat than die. What say you? You smile as you take your place at the table. I say it depends on how the fish is prepared. This gets a laugh from the group. Humour about food is common among you. When you can't fill your belly, you might as well fill the air with jokes about it. A servant appears with tea. You accept a cup gratefully, wrapping your hands around it for warmth. The tea is weak, the same leaves have probably been steeped 3 or 4 times already, but it's hot and it's free. 2 qualities that make anything desirable in your world. Did you hear about Nakamura? Asks Sato, an older samurai with a greying topknot. His daughter's getting married next month. To the merchant's son? Someone asks. Sato nods grimly. The Tanaka family. They import silk from Kyoto. A murmur runs through the group. It's becoming more common samurai families marrying into merchant wealth. The samurai gets financial stability. The merchant gets social status. A practical arrangement, but one that would have been unthinkable a generation ago. My own sister married a sack brewer's son, says Ishida with a shrug. Their children never go hungry. The implication hangs in the air. Unlike yours. Times change, you say diplomatically. Our grandfathers fought battles. We guard gates and copy ledgers. Perhaps our grandchildren will brew sake, or perhaps the old ways will return, says Yamamoto, the youngest of the group. His eyes shine with naive idealism. The way of the warrior is eternal. The sword is the soul of the samurai. The soul doesn't fill the stomach, mutters Sato. Speaking of which, Ishida changes the subject. My wife made rice balls with pickled plum, more than I can eat. Anyone interested? This is a familiar ritual. No one would openly admit to hunger or accept charity, but sharing food that would otherwise go to waste allows everyone to maintain their dignity. You accept a rice ball with measured casualness, as if doing Ishida a favour. Thank you. It would be shameful to let good food go uneaten. The rice ball is small but delicious, the sour plum in the centre, cutting through the blandness of the rice. You eat slowly, making it last. It might be hours before you eat again. Conversation flows around you, complaints about stipends, stories about children, rumours about court politics. The usual topics that fill the hours between duties. You listen more than you speak, conserving energy. When it's time for your watch, you and 3 other samurai make your way to the western gate. The sun is high now, warming the stone walls of the castle. Your post is a small covered platform overlooking the gate. From here, you can see everyone who comes and goes. Checking for thieves or checking for ghosts? Jokes Miyamoto, one of your watch partners, as you settle in for the long shift. Both, you reply. The thieves steal our food and the ghosts steal our sleep. The first hour passes slowly. You check wagons bringing vegetables for the castle kitchens. You verify documents carried by messengers. You bow to higher-ranking officials who pass through. Routine work that requires alertness but not much thought. Your mind wanders to the money problems waiting at home. The rice merchant must be paid next week. Your son needs new sandals for the winter. The roof leaks when it rains heavily. Each problem links to the next like beads on a string, a rosary of worries that you count throughout the day. Kato-san, Miyamoto's voice pulls you back to the present. Merchant at the gate asking for you specifically. Your heart skips. Has your secret side work been discovered? But no, you recognize the merchant approaching the gate. It's Fujiwara, one of your wife's distant cousins. He trades in cotton goods and occasionally brings small gifts for your children. You descend from the platform to meet him at the gate. Kato-san, he greets you with a deeper bow than a merchant would typically give a low-ranking samurai. Family connection warrants the extra respect. I was passing by and thought to pay my respects. Fujiwara-san, you honor me with your visit. The formal language comes automatically. A script you've both performed many times. He looks well, his kimono is of good quality cotton, his sash silk. His sandals are new. Business must be good. I visited your home yesterday, he says quietly, stepping aside so a cart can pass through the gate. Your wife mentioned the roof. You stiffen. Pride wars with necessity in your chest. It's a small matter. I'll attend to it when my duties permit. Fujiwara nods, understanding the unspoken message. He doesn't offer help directly that would shame you. Instead, he says, my warehouse received a shipment of cypress shingles yesterday, more than I ordered. I was planning to sell the excess, but perhaps you would take them off my hands. At a discount, of course. I dislike having excess inventory. This is how it's done. Not charity, but business arranged so that you can accept help without losing face. I could consider it, you say stiffly. What price were you thinking? He names a figure so low it's practically a gift. You should refuse. Your samurai pride demands it, but your leaking roof and your family's comfort argue otherwise. Acceptable, you say finally. I'll send payment next week. Fujiwara bows. No rush. The shingles aren't going anywhere. Another cart approaches, and he steps back. I won't keep you from your duties. Please give my regards to your family. You watch him go, conflicted feelings churning in your stomach, relief at solving the roof problem, shame at needing help, gratitude towards your wife's family, resentment that merchants live so comfortably while samurai struggle. The weight of the two swords at your hip seems heavier than usual. Back on the platform, Miyamoto gives you a knowing look but says nothing. Many samurai have similar arrangements with merchant relatives or friends. It's an open secret, this delicate dance between pride and survival. The afternoon wears on. The sun begins its westward descent, casting long shadows across the castle grounds. Your stomach reminds you that the rice ball was inadequate, but you ignore it. There will be food at home. Not much, perhaps, but something. A commotion at the gate draws your attention. A group of merchants has arrived with samples of silk for the lord's ladies. They're being thoroughly searched as protocol demands. Careful with those, snaps one merchant as a guard unwraps a package. That's Chinese silk, worth more than you make in a year. The guard's face darkens, but he says nothing. He can't. The merchant is right. The silk probably is worth more than a guard's annual stipend. But more importantly, the merchant is under the protection of Lord Matsudaira himself, who values fine goods from China. To insult the merchant would be to insult the lord. You watch from above, a familiar bitterness rising in your throat. The merchant wears fine clothes and speaks carelessly to warriors who could cut him down in seconds, but they won't, because the peace established by the Tokugawa shogunate values commerce and stability over martial prowess. I remember when merchants knew their place, mutters Miyamoto beside you. My grandfather told stories about how they would kneel in the street when samurai passed by. Your grandfather probably ate regularly too, you reply. Miyamoto snorts. True enough. Once cleared, the merchants proceed into the castle, their precious silks re-wrapped and carried carefully. You watch them go, wondering what it would be like to handle such wealth so casually. The rest of your watch passes without incident. When your replacement arrives, you bow to the captain, collect your token of attendance, proof you completed your duty necessary for receiving your stipend, and prepare to leave. The castle is quieter now as the administrative day ends. Scribes and officials stream out of the buildings, heading home to their families. You recognize many faces, fellow low-ranking samurai, all wearing the same slightly worn clothing, all carrying the same worries home with them. At the main gate, you spot Tanaka waiting for you. "How was tax collection today?" you ask as you fall into step beside him. He grimaces. Numbers, numbers, and more numbers. The rice harvest from the northern provinces is down this year. Bad weather. That means higher prices at the market, you say with a sigh. And no increase in stipends, he adds. You both know what that means. The gap between income and expenses will widen further. More samurai will take on secret work or sell possessions to survive. As you pass through the castle gate onto the main street of Edo, the city is at its busiest. The setting sun paints everything gold, making even the shabbiest buildings look grand for a moment. Merchants are closing up shops. Food vendors call out their final offerings of the day. The smells of grilled fish, steamed buns, and sweet dango dumplings fill the air. Your stomach growls loudly. "Betrayed by your own body," Tanaka laughs. "Mine is no more loyal." A food vendor calls out to passing customers. "Last skewers of the day, special price." The grilled chicken smells heavenly. Your mouth waters involuntarily. "We could," Tanaka suggests hesitantly. "Just this once. You're tempted. The stipend won't come for another 10 days. The roof needs fixing. Your son needs sandals. But the smell." Before you can decide, a commotion further down the street catches your attention. A group of men surrounds someone, voices raised in anger. "Is that—" Tanaka squints. "Yoshida," you confirm, recognizing your fellow samurai. You and Tanaka exchange a look, then hurry toward the disturbance. As you get closer, you see Yoshida standing rigid, one hand on his sword hilt, faced by 3 angry-looking men in merchant clothing. "You can't keep delaying payment," one is saying. "Our master has been more than patient." "I've explained my situation," Yoshida replies, his voice tight. "The stipend comes next week. You'll be paid then." "That's what you said last month," says another man. "Our master's patience is at an end." You and Tanaka position yourselves behind Yoshida, forming a line of 3 samurai facing the debt collectors. The merchants notice and hesitate. "Is there a problem here?" you ask, keeping your voice level, but allowing your hand to rest casually on your sword. The lead collector looks at the 3 of you, calculates the odds, and takes a step back. "This is a private matter of business between Yoshida-san and our master." "Yoshida-san is our colleague," says Tanaka. "His matters are our concern." A small crowd has gathered to watch. This type of confrontation isn't uncommon in Edo samurai. Debt is a growing problem, and merchants are becoming bolder in their collection methods. The collector bows stiffly. We meant no disrespect. We'll return next week, as arranged. They back away, disappearing into the crowd. The spectators, disappointed that there won't be more drama, disperse as well. Yoshida's shoulders slump once they're gone. "Thank you," he says quietly. "They've been following me for days." "How much do you owe?" Tanaka asks. Yoshida names a sum that makes your heart sink. "It's more than any of you could help with." "The doctor's fees for my son," he explains, "and then food, and then..." He trails off. The story is familiar. One expense leads to debt, which leads to interest, which leads to more debt, a spiral that's increasingly common among your class. "Come," you say, making a decision. "Let's get something to eat." "I can't," Yoshida begins. "I received an advance on a private matter," you say, choosing your words carefully. The umbrella making doesn't need to be mentioned explicitly. Consider it a loan until your stipend arrives. The three of you approach the food vendor, who bows respectfully to your swords, if not your worn clothing. You order 3 skewers of grilled chicken, an extravagance, but necessary. Yoshida looks like he might collapse from hunger, and your own strength is fading after the long day. The first bite is heaven. The meat is tender, seasoned with salt and a touch of sweet sauce. You eat slowly, savoring each morsel, aware that such treats are rare. "My wife doesn't know how bad it is," Yoshida says after finishing his skewer. "I've been telling her the stipend was reduced temporarily. She thinks things will improve next month." "Will they?" Tanaka asks. Yoshida shakes his head. "I don't see how, unless..." He doesn't finish, but you understand. Unless he takes more side work, unless he sells something valuable, unless some miracle occurs. The three of you walk in silence for a while, each lost in similar thoughts. The streets grow quieter as you leave the main commercial district and enter the area where many low-ranking samurai live. The buildings here are smaller, more modest, but still maintain an appearance of respectability. Appearances matter, especially when reality is increasingly difficult. "My grandfather fought at Sekigahara," Yoshida says suddenly. "He was given his position and stipend by Lord Tokugawa himself for his bravery. The Battle of Sekigahara, 1600, the fight that established the Tokugawa shogunate and began the current era of peace. Ancient history to you, but clearly a point of pride for Yoshida." "Mine served the Maida clan in Kanazawa," Tanaka offers. "He once saved his lord from an assassin." "And yours, Kata-san?" Yoshida asks. You shrug. "A minor vassal of the Uesugi, then the Tokugawa after the unification. No grand tales of heroism. He was a scout mostly, good with maps. What you don't say is that your grandfather would be ashamed to see what has become of his legacy. A hungry descendant guarding a gate, making paper umbrellas in secret to feed his family." "Things were simpler then," says Tanaka. "You served, you fought, you died if necessary. Now we serve by pushing papers and standing at gates while our families go hungry. And merchants grow fat," adds Yoshida bitterly. "You reach the point where your paths diverge." Yoshida lives to the east, Tanaka to the north, and you to the west. "Thank you again," Yoshida says, bowing deeply, "for everything." "Take care of your son," you reply. "We'll see you at the castle tomorrow." As he walks away, Tanaka turns to you. "That was kind, buying the food." You shrug uncomfortably. "He needed it more than I needed the coins." Still, Tanaka gives you a considering look. Not everyone would have done that. "We have to look out for each other," you say. "Who else will?" Tanaka nods in agreement. "Until tomorrow, then." "Until tomorrow." You watch him go, then turn toward your own home. The sun has set now, and paper lanterns glow in windows and at crossroads. The weight of the day and the weight of your swords sits heavy on your shoulders. 2 swords, symbols of your status, your heritage, your very identity. They give you the right to walk proud through the streets of Edo. They exempt you from the taxes that burden farmers and artisans. They mark you as a member of the ruling class. But they can't be eaten. They can't patch a leaking roof. They can't buy new sandals for a growing child. You think of Yoshida, whose samurai grandfather fought at Sekigahara, reduced to dodging debt collectors in the streets. You think of yourself, descended from warriors, making paper umbrellas by candlelight to supplement your income. The world has changed around you, but the expectations haven't. You must still live as a samurai, educated, dignified, loyal to your lord, but now you must do it on a stipend that barely covers rice. As you walk, you pass a wealthy merchant's home. Lanterns illuminate a garden, visible through the open gate. Servants move about inside. The smell of a rich dinner wafts over the wall. The merchant himself sits on the veranda, enjoying the evening air, a cup of sake in his hand. He notices you passing and quickly sets down his cup to bow respectfully. You are samurai after all, he must show proper deference. You return the bow, shallower as befits your higher status, and continue on your way. The merchant returns to his sake and his comfortable life, while you walk home to your leaking roof and empty rice jar. Such is the way of things in Edo. The old order and the new reality coexisting uneasily. The moon rises over the city, casting silver light on the canal you cross. For a moment you pause on the bridge, looking at your reflection in the water below, the silhouette of a samurai, 2 swords at his hip, straight-backed and proud, hungry, worried and tired, but still samurai. With a sigh, you continue homeward. Your family is waiting, and the night is just beginning. The lantern is already lit beside your front door when you arrive home. Your wife must have placed it there, a small beacon guiding you through the darkening streets. Such a simple gesture, yet it warms something inside you that has nothing to do with physical hunger. You slide open the door, announcing your arrival with a quiet, "I'm home." Your wife appears from the inner room, bowing formally as protocol demands, even in your humble dwelling. "Welcome back, my lord." The children peek out from behind her. Your son, Ichiro, 9 years old and already trying to stand like a samurai. Your daughter, Ume, 6 years old with her mother's eyes. They bow as well, tiny formal figures in threadbare clothing. "Father," they chorus. For a moment the weight of the day falls away. Here, in this tiny house with its leaking roof and thin walls, is the reason you endure everything else. Not for the stipend, not for the status, but for these 3 people who depend on you. "How was your day?" your wife asks as she takes your outer garment. "Uneventful," you answer, the standard response that spares her the worries that plague you. "Guard duty at the western gate." "Did you cut down any bad guys?" Ichiro asks eagerly, making a slashing motion with an imaginary sword. You smile and ruffle his hair. "No bad guys today, just merchants and messengers." "Boring," he declares with the confidence of youth. "Sometimes boring is good," you tell him. "It means peace." Peace has been the way of things for over a century and a half now. The great wars that established the Tokugawa shogunate are distant history. Your grandfather might have used his swords in actual combat, but you never have and likely never will. You're trained in their use. Of course, all samurai are, but your battles are fought with ink brushes and account books, not steel. Ume tugs at your sleeve. "We made dinner," she says proudly. "I helped." "Did you now?" You let her lead you to the dining area, a corner of the main room where a small table sits low to the floor. What feast awaits me? The feast is what you expected: a small portion of rice, miso soup with a few bits of tofu floating in it and pickled vegetables. Simple fare, but prepared with care. The portions are small, carefully rationed to stretch what little you have. You notice immediately that there are only 3 settings for you and the children. Your wife has not served herself. "You're not eating?" you ask her quietly as the children settle at the table. "I ate earlier," she lies smoothly, "while preparing the food." You know better, but you don't challenge her. This is her way of ensuring you and the children have enough. Tomorrow, you'll skip a meal to balance things, to maintain the delicate equilibrium that keeps your family functioning. The meal begins with the traditional words of gratitude. Even in poverty, certain forms must be observed. The samurai may bend under economic pressure, but they do not break with tradition. "Itadakimasu," you all say in unison, giving thanks for the food. The children eat quickly, hungry after a day of study and play. You eat more slowly, savoring each mouthful, aware of the effort that went into providing even this modest meal. "Tell me of your studies," you say to Ichiro. He straightens his back, eager to report. "I practiced my calligraphy and read the passage from the Analects that you assigned. The superior man thinks of virtue, the small man thinks of comfort. And what does that mean to you?" you ask, curious what a 9-year-old makes of Confucian wisdom. Ichiro considers seriously that a samurai should care more about being good than being comfortable. "That's a fair interpretation," you say, surprised by his insight. "And do you agree with it?" He hesitates, glancing at the meager food on the table. "I think being good is important, but being comfortable would be nice too." Your wife makes a small sound that might be suppressed laughter or dismay at such candid speech. You smile at your son. "Wisdom beyond your years," you tell him. "The superior man should indeed value virtue, but there's no virtue in unnecessary suffering either." Ume, not to be outdone, pipes up. "I practiced writing too, and mother taught me to sew a straight seam." "Excellent," you say, "a useful skill." "I made this," she says proudly, pulling a small cloth pouch from her sleeve, "for your medicine." The medicine she refers to is the willow bark you sometimes chew when the old training injury in your shoulder flares up. The pouch is crudely made, the stitch is uneven, but it's recognizably a pouch and not merely a scrap of fabric. "It's perfect," you tell her, accepting the gift as solemnly as if it were a masterpiece from the finest craftsman in Edo. "Thank you." She beams, her face glowing with pride. After dinner, while your wife cleans up with Ume's help, you and Ichiro sit on the small wooden platform that serves as a porch, looking out at the tiny strip of garden behind your house. The moon is rising, casting silver light on the few vegetables you've managed to grow in the poor soil, some radishes, a few spring onions, a small patch of greens. "Father," Ichiro says after a while, "why does Tanaka-san's son get to train at the fencing school when I cannot?" The question catches you off guard. Tanaka's stipend is the same as yours, but his wife came from a merchant family with more wealth than your wife's relatives. They can afford small luxuries like formal martial arts training for their son. Tanaka-san has different arrangements, you say carefully. Each family must make its own choices about how to use what they have. "But I want to be a strong samurai," Ichiro insists. "How can I learn if I don't train properly?" You place your hand on his shoulder. "There are many ways to learn, son. I will teach you what I know. And strength isn't just in the arm that holds the sword, but in the mind that decides when to use it." He doesn't look entirely convinced, but he nods dutifully. "Besides," you add, "a true samurai finds ways to improve himself no matter his circumstances." Remember the story of Miyamoto Musashi, who crafted a wooden sword when he had no proper one and still defeated his enemies. This brightens him considerably. Musashi is a hero to many young samurai boys, the legendary swordsman who never lost a duel, who fought with two swords when everyone else used one, who lived by his own rules. "Will you show me the two-sword technique?" he asks eagerly. "Someday," you promise. "When you're a bit older." And when we can afford a proper Bokken training sword, you add silently. You send him inside to prepare for bed, but remain on the porch yourself, watching the night deepen over Edo. In the distance, you can see the lights of the wealthier districts, where high-ranking samurai and prosperous merchants live in spacious houses with proper gardens. Closer, the cramped quarters of your neighborhood are marked by smaller, dimmer lights, other low-ranking samurai families living lives much like yours. Your wife joins you, sitting slightly behind as propriety dictates, even when no one is watching. "The roof leaked again today," she says quietly, "just in the corner by the storage chest. I know, Fujiwara is sending some cypress shingles. I'll fix it on my rest day." She doesn't ask how you arrange this or what it will cost. Some details are better left unspoken between you. "Ichiro is growing so fast," she says instead. "His hakama are already too short, and winter is coming." Another expense you can't afford. But children can't stop growing just because their parents are poor. "I'll think of something," you promise. She nods, trusting you as she always has. Her faith in you is both comforting and terrifying. What if you fail her? What if all your scrambling and secret work and careful management isn't enough? "I've been thinking," she says after a moment, her voice tentative. "My cousin Fujiwara mentioned that his wife's sister is looking for someone to teach her daughters proper etiquette and calligraphy. A lady from a good family. She would pay well," he said. You stiffen. "She's suggesting that she take on paid work, something no respectable samurai wife should do. Teaching merchant children would be beneath her status, a humiliation." "Absolutely not," you say firmly. "What would people say?" "They needn't know," she replies. "I could go once or twice a week when you're at the castle. Say I'm visiting my cousin. It's out of the question. We are not so desperate yet. But you are, and you both know it. The difference is that she's willing to swallow her pride for the family's survival while you're still clinging to the vestiges of samurai dignity." "As you wish," she says, but there's a note in her voice that suggests the conversation isn't truly over. You sit in silence for a while, the unspoken tension between you mixing with the night air. Finally, she speaks again. "What if it were a samurai family? Surely there would be no shame in that. You consider this. Teaching in a higher-ranking samurai household would indeed be acceptable for your wife. Such arrangements aren't uncommon. Lower-ranking samurai families often provide services to their superiors in exchange for favors or modest payment. If such an opportunity arose, you concede, we could consider it." She nods, satisfied with this small victory. "I'll speak with Lady Mori. I've heard her youngest daughter struggles with her calligraphy. Lady Mori is the wife of a middle-ranking samurai in your district. Not wealthy by merchant standards, but comfortable by yours. It would be a suitable arrangement." "Very well," you agree, but discreetly. "Of course." A cool breeze stirs the air, carrying the scent of the canal and the faint sounds of the city settling into night. Somewhere a samisen plays, its melancholy notes drifting over the rooftops. "We should go in," your wife says finally. "It's getting cold." Inside, the children are already asleep, curled together on their shared futon like puppies seeking warmth. You watch them for a moment, their faces peaceful in sleep, unburdened by the worries that plague you. "They're happy," your wife says softly, reading your thoughts as she often does. "That's what matters most." "Yes," you agree. "But for how long?" Ichiro is already asking questions I don't have good answers for. Children are resilient. They accept the world as it is. Until they don't. You sigh. Soon he'll understand that other samurai families live better than we do, that his friends can afford training and new clothes while he cannot. Then he'll also understand that his father is a man of principle who puts honor above comfort, she says firmly. There's no shame in honest poverty, isn't there? The merchants don't seem to think so. They grow rich while we grow hungry, yet we're supposed to be their betters. She places a gentle hand on your arm. Don't let bitterness poison you. That's not the husband I married. Her words sting because they contain truth. You have been growing more resentful lately, watching the gap widen between your class's status and their prosperity. It's an ugly feeling, unworthy of the samurai ideal of self-discipline and acceptance. You're right, you admit, as usual. She smiles, then leaves to prepare for bed. You remain looking at your sleeping children, thinking about their future in this changing world. After a while, you go to the small chest in the corner where you keep your few valuables. Sliding it open silently, you remove a folded cloth from the bottom. Unwrapping it reveals your secret, the unfinished paper umbrellas, 5 of them, each needing only a few more hours of work before they're ready to sell. Tonight should be spent working on them. The merchant expects delivery in 3 days and you need the money. But exhaustion weighs on you like a stone. The early rising, the long guard shift, the emotional weight of the day's events, all of it has drained what little energy you had left. Tomorrow, you promise yourself, carefully rewrapping the umbrellas and returning them to their hiding place. I'll work double time tomorrow. As you prepare for bed, removing your swords and placing them carefully on their stand, you notice a small tear in your kimono sleeve. Another repair needed, another expense avoided through careful maintenance. Your wife will mend it tomorrow, her skilled fingers working the needle through the worn fabric, extending its life a little longer. You settle onto your futon beside your wife, who is already asleep, her breathing soft and regular. The house creaks gently around you, small sounds that have become as familiar as your own heartbeat. Through the thin walls, you can hear neighbors moving about, living lives parallel to yours. Other samurai families making do, holding on, preserving what dignity they can in an era that increasingly values gold over honor. Sleep comes slowly as your mind churns with worries and plans. The roof, Ichiro's clothes, the umbrella deadline, the winter stores you need to begin setting aside. Each concern connects to the next in an endless chain that wraps around your thoughts like a constrictor. Eventually, exhaustion overcomes anxiety and you drift towards sleep. As consciousness fades, you find yourself thinking of your grandfather, the scout who served the Tokugawa loyally and was rewarded with the position you now hold. What would he think of what his legacy has become? Would he understand the compromises you've made, the secret work, the borrowed shingles, the borrowed pride? You hope he would. You hope he'd see that you're doing your best to uphold what matters while adapting to a world he couldn't have imagined, a world where merchants grow fat while samurai go hungry, where peace brings its own kind of hardship. Your last thought before sleep claims you is of Yoshida, standing proud before his debt collectors, hand on his sword, the weight of generations of samurai bearing down on his shoulders. All of you trying to live by a code created for a different time, a different Japan. All of you hungry in body but feeding your spirits with ancient pride for as long as that sustenance lasts. Morning arrives too soon, grey light seeping through the paper windows. Your body protests as you rise, muscles stiff from the hard floor and the previous day's exertions. Beside you, your wife stirs but doesn't wake. You move quietly, letting her sleep a little longer. The house is cold. The charcoal in the brazier burned out hours ago, and the morning air has a bite that warns of the coming winter. You dress quickly, adding an extra layer against the chill. In the main room, you find Ichiro already awake, practicing his calligraphy by the dim morning light. His face is screwed up in concentration, his small hand carefully guiding the brush across the paper. "You're up early," you observe softly, so as not to wake Ume. He looks up, pleased to be caught in this diligent act. "I'm practicing the characters you showed me yesterday." You kneel beside him, examining his work. His strokes are becoming more confident, though they still lack the fluid grace that comes with years of practice. Still, for a 9-year-old, it's impressive. "Good," you say. "Remember, the brush must flow like water, not stab like a sword." He nods seriously, adjusts his grip, and tries again. The resulting character is indeed more flowing, less rigid. "Better," you approve. "Now help me start the fire. Your mother and sister will be cold when they wake." Together, you coax the embers in the brazier back to life, adding small pieces of charcoal carefully too precious to waste. As warmth slowly returns to the room, you prepare a simple breakfast of leftover rice porridge, thinned with water and heated with a few pickled vegetables added for flavour. The smell rouses your wife and daughter. Soon the four of you are seated around the small table, steam rising from the bowls of hot porridge. "Itadakimasu," you say together, the same ritual as always, giving thanks for even this meagre meal. As you eat, you discuss the day ahead. Your wife will visit Lady Mori to inquire about teaching her daughter. Ichiro will continue his studies and help with household chores. Ume will accompany your wife as she's still too young to stay home alone. You have guard duty again, this time at the eastern gate. It's a busier post where merchants and officials enter the castle more frequently. More responsibility, more attention required, but the same stipend. "I may be late tonight," you tell your wife. "There's a matter I need to attend to after my shift." She meets your eyes briefly, understanding what you're not saying. The umbrellas, the deadline, the secret work. "We'll keep dinner for you," she says simply. After breakfast, you prepare to leave, donning your outer garment and securing your swords at your hip. The routine is so familiar you could do it blindfolded, tying the cords just so, positioning the scabbards at precisely the right angle. These small details matter. A samurai's appearance must be impeccable regardless of what lies beneath. Ichiro watches you with undisguised admiration. To him, the swords are still symbols of heroism and adventure, not the complicated mixed blessing you've come to see them as. "When I'm a samurai, I'll have swords like yours," he declares. You ruffle his hair. "Indeed you will, these very ones, when the time comes." His eyes widen. "Really? Your swords will be mine?" "That's how it works," you tell him. "From father to son, generation to generation. These swords have been in our family for 3 generations already. One day they'll be yours to pass to your son." He reaches out tentatively to touch the hilt of your katana, his small fingers brushing the worn silk wrapping. "I'll take good care of them," he promises solemnly. "I know you will." You straighten up, adjusting your clothing one last time. "But that's many years away. For now, take good care of your mother and sister while I'm gone." He stands at attention, every inch the samurai in training. "Yes, father." With a final nod to your wife, you step outside into the cool morning air. Other samurai are emerging from their homes as well, all heading toward the castle for their daily duties. You fall into step with Tanaka, who lives 3 houses down. Another day of glory, he says with his usual wry smile. Indeed, you reply, straightening your back and lifting your chin slightly. Whatever the day brings, hunger, humiliation, hard choices, you'll face it as you always do, with the dignity of a samurai and the quiet desperation of a poor man. The eastern gate of the castle bustles with activity as merchants, officials, and messengers stream in and out. Your post is on a raised platform overlooking the entrance, giving you a clear view of everyone who passes. Beside you, two other low-ranking samurai keep watch, their faces as carefully neutral as your own. Guard duty is tedious but not difficult. You check papers, verify identities, watch for suspicious behavior. Occasionally, you escort particularly important visitors to their destinations within the castle. The hours pass slowly, marked by the changing angle of the sun and the gradual emptying of your water flask. By midday, your stomach is growling again. The thin porridge from breakfast did little to satisfy your hunger, and lunch is still hours away. You ignore the discomfort as best you can, focusing instead on your duties. Kato-san, says Watanabe, one of your fellow guards. There's a merchant requesting entry who doesn't appear on today's list. You move to the gate where a well-dressed merchant waits, flanked by two servants carrying large wooden boxes. He bows when he sees you, but there's a confidence in his posture that suggests he's accustomed to getting his way. "Good day, honorable samurai," he says smoothly. "I am Nakamura Jinsuke, purveyor of fine textiles to Lord Matsudaira. I have samples of new silks from Kyoto that I believe the Lord's ladies will find most interesting." You check the list of approved visitors. Nakamura's name is indeed absent. "I apologize, Nakamura-san, but you're not on today's approved list. I cannot grant you entry without proper authorization." The merchant's smile doesn't waver. "A mere oversight, I assure you. Lord Matsudaira's chief steward Ishida-san is expecting me. Perhaps you could send word to him." It's a reasonable request, but something about the merchant's manner makes you hesitate. His clothes are too fine, his manner too smooth. Most merchants who regularly do business with the castle know the protocols well. "I will need to verify this with my superior first," you say. "Please wait here." You signal to Watanabe to watch the merchant while you step aside to consult with the guard captain, who listens to your concerns with a frown. "Nakamura. I don't recall that name among the Lord's regular merchants, and Ishida hasn't mentioned any textile delivery today." The captain thinks for a moment. "I'll send a runner to check with Ishida directly. Keep the merchant waiting until we hear back." You return to the gate where Nakamura waits, his smile now tinged with impatience. "My captain is verifying your appointment with Ishida-san," you inform him. "It should only take a few minutes." The merchant's smile slips slightly. "This is most inconvenient. The textiles are sensitive to light and air. Each moment they remain in these boxes diminishes their value. I understand your concern, but protocol must be followed." Nakamura studies you for a moment, then reaches into his sleeve and withdraws a small package wrapped in silk cloth. "Perhaps this would help expedite matters," he says quietly, offering it to you. You don't need to open it to know what it contains. Coins, almost certainly. A bribe. Time seems to slow as you consider your options. The package would contain more money than you'd see in months of umbrella making. Enough to fix the roof properly, buy winter clothes for the children, stock up on rice for the cold months ahead. No one would know the captain is busy, Watanabe is checking another visitor, and the merchant clearly knows how to be discreet. But the shame would be unbearable. Taking bribes violates everything it means to be samurai. Your stipend may be inadequate, your family may go hungry, but your honor is the one thing you've managed to preserve intact. "You misunderstand me, Nakamura-san," you say coldly. "I am samurai. I cannot be bought." For a moment, naked anger flashes across the merchant's face, quickly masked by a forced smile. Of course. I meant no offence. The package contains merely samples of silk thread, which I thought might interest you professionally. You both know it's a lie, but you allow him the pretense. I have no need for silk samples. Please put them away. Before the situation can grow more awkward, a runner appears with a message from Ishida. As you suspected, there is no appointment with any textile merchant today. I regret to inform you that Ishida-san is not expecting you, you tell Nakamura. I cannot grant you entry to the castle today. Perhaps you could return tomorrow after arranging a proper appointment. The merchant's face darkens with anger, but he controls himself. Very well. I shall do that. Good day, samurai. He leaves with his servants, the silk-wrapped package tucked back into his sleeve. You watch him go, wondering how many other guards he'll try to bribe before the day is out. How many would accept? What was that about? Watanabe asks when he returns to your post. A merchant without an appointment, you say simply. Nothing important. The incident leaves a sour taste in your mouth, not because you were tempted you weren't, not really, but because it highlighted once again the upside-down nature of your world. A merchant wealthy enough to casually offer bribes, trying to purchase the integrity of a samurai who can barely feed his family. The old order twisted into something unrecognizable. The rest of your shift passes without incident. By late afternoon, you're exhausted, hungry, and eager to be done with your official duties so you can attend to your unofficial ones. When your relief arrives, you bow to the guard captain, collect your attendance token, make your way through the castle grounds toward the main gate. The setting sun paints the stone walls gold and crimson, a beautiful sight that you're too tired to properly appreciate. Instead of heading directly home, you turn toward the commercial district of Edo. The streets are still busy with late shoppers and merchants closing up their stalls. You keep your head high, your bearing proud, even as your empty stomach reminds you of your circumstances. After several turns through increasingly narrow streets, you reach a small shop tucked between a cooper's workshop and a paper seller. The sign above the door reads Takahashi Crafts in simple, elegant characters. You slide open the door and step inside. The shop is dim, lit only by a few oil lamps. Shelves line the walls, displaying an assortment of crafts lacquerware, wooden combs, paper goods, umbrellas. At the back, an old man sits at a low table, carefully applying gold leaf to a small box. "Ah, Katasan," he says without looking up from his work. "Right on time. Takahashi is a craftsman, not a merchant, though he sells his own goods and those made by others. He's one of the few people who know about your secret work." "Good evening, Takahashi-san," you reply, bowing slightly. "I've come about the umbrellas." He sets aside his tools and rises slowly, his old joints protesting audibly. Yes, let's talk in the back." You follow him through a curtained doorway into a small room that serves as both workshop and living quarters. A young man, Takahashi's apprentice, is working at a table, painting designs on wooden fan frames. He bows respectfully when you enter, but continues his work. "Tea?" Takahashi offers. "Thank you. No," you decline. "I cannot stay long." The old man nods understanding. "The umbrellas, then?" "The merchant was here yesterday. He's very pleased with your work, especially the cherry blossom design. He wants 6 more by the end of the month." 6 more? That would mean working every night for at least 2 weeks. Exhausting, but the payment would be substantial. "That's good news," you say hesitantly, "but I was hoping to have payment for the current batch today. My roof." "Ah, yes," Takahashi interrupts, reaching into his sleeve. "I negotiated a partial payment in advance." He hands you a small cloth bag that clinks with the unmistakable sound of coins. You resist the urge to count them immediately, that would be undignified, but the weight suggests a fair amount. Thank you, you say, tucking the bag into your own sleeve. I'll deliver the finished umbrellas tomorrow. No rush, the old man says kindly. The day after would be fine. You look tired, Caterson. His concern is genuine, which somehow makes it more difficult to bear. Takahashi knows your situation, not the full details, but enough to understand why a samurai would be secretly making paper umbrellas for sale. He never mentions it directly, preserving your dignity, but his quiet compassion is sometimes harder to endure than the indifference of others. I am well, you insist. 6 more by the end of the month will be no problem. Takahashi studies you for a moment, then nods. Very well. Will you be needing more paper or bamboo? Paper, yes, the thin kind for the cherry blossom design. I'll set some aside for you. Good quality, from Kyoto. Business concluded, you bow and prepare to leave. As you turn to go, Takahashi speaks again, his voice softer. Katasan, my nephew is a carpenter, a good one. If your roof needs attention. You stiffen. Has your wife been talking to Lady Mori, who then spoke to Takahashi? How many people know of your struggles? My roof is fine, you say sharply, but thank you for your concern. The old man bows, accepting the rebuff without offence. Of course, until tomorrow then. Outside, the streets are darker now, lanterns glowing in windows and at crossroads. You walk quickly, the coin bag a comforting weight in your sleeve, enough to buy rice, charcoal, and perhaps some dried fish as a treat for the children, enough to begin saving for winter clothes. Not enough for a proper roof repair, but combined with Fujiwara's discounted shingles, it might be sufficient. As you walk, you pass through the entertainment district, where tea houses and restaurants cater to those with money to spend on pleasure. The smell of grilled eel and steamed buns makes your mouth water, reminding you that you've eaten almost nothing all day. On impulse, you stop at a small food stall and buy 3 rice balls with pickled plum centers, 1 for each child and your wife. The vendor wraps them carefully in bamboo leaves, and you tuck the package into your kimono next to the coin bag. A small extravagance, but they deserve it. The residential district is quiet when you reach it. Most